Get real.
Get real.
Get real.
Get real. Let's get real.
It is a faithful representation of reality that can be echoed. Verisimilitude. Oh, I think it's really true. It's a technique that was been practiced by many schools that deals with writing, that denotes a particular kind of a subject matter. The authors were so damn great, already rich enough their craft. They hear that voice, we hear them all, like thunder guns up. Charles Chestnut, Stephen Gray, Harry James and Mark Twain. We see it all, we see it now. It's the period of realism. The fighters dancing through its rhythm, 'cause it's realism. And you're gonna be this real. Louder, louder like a lion, 'cause it's romanticism. Yes, it's realism. Realism, realism, realism. Yes, it's realism. It was an analysis that talks about their thoughts and feelings. We see it quietly, agreed politely. Environment, this has its functions. It can help to shape our characters. They suit for a thing, that they felt in everything. Charles Chestnut, Stephen Gray, Harry James and Mark Twain. We see it all, we see it now. It's a period of realism. The fighters dancing through its rhythm, 'cause it's realism. And you're gonna be this real. Louder, louder like the lion, 'cause it's romanticism. Yes, it's realism. Realism, realism, realism. Yes, it's realism. Realism, realism, realism. Yes, it's realism.
Hello, language enthusiast and hello, world. Wow, I see that many people were gathered here to join us. Right, Janelle?
Yes, Niña, I can feel the energy of all the people who's here. Let me hear your screams. Wow, their hype can blow us up.
That's right. So, Janelle, I know that people can't hide their excitement anymore right now.
Yes. So we gotta go on to our show now, right? So yeah, let's move forward to what will gonna happen this so fine evening.
So, everyone, we will gonna be witnessing the beauty as well the nostalgic period of realism. I know that people here are eager to know and to learn about realism.
I can also conclude that these language enthusiasts are willing to see and hear some stories all about the dearest writers of the realism period.
You're right, Janelle. Yet, it's the highlight of our event tonight. We were going to be interviewing two of the proponent writers of the realism period.
Great! We will not have just one, but we're so lucky to have two great writers of realism. I am so happy that they give us their precious time upon joining us here for our celebration.
Yes, Janelle. So, we will nurture their precious time in knowing them more and to learn more about them. We are so privileged to know what inspires them to write their incredible masterpiece.
Yes, it'll probably be unforgettable. But first, let us know about what is realism. So, realism was an artistic movement that emerged in France in the 1840s around the 1848 revolution. Realists rejected Romanticism, which had dominated French literature and art since the early 19th century. Realism revolted against the exotic subject matter and the exaggerated emotionalism and drama of the Romantic movement. Realism also to portray real and typical contemporary people and situation with truth and accuracy and not avoiding unpleasant or sordid aspects of life. The movement aimed to focus on unidealized subjects and events that were previously rejected in artwork. So that was realism. So, without further ado, let's get this on now.
Yes, Janelle. Spill the tea now, my precious friend.
Yes, so here it is. The first author we'll be talking with is known to be the greatest humorist of United States has made, and also he was named by William Faulkner as the father of American literature. So language enthusiasts, sit back and relax as we hear from one of the best writers of the realism period. Put your hands together with Mr. Samuel Langhorne Clemens, or namely called as his pen name, Mark Twain.
Yes, we're so glad to have you here, Mr. Twain. Yet, it's our pleasure to see you, sir. So to move forward, let me ask you, Sir Twain, these common questions we have from the survey we conducted to the language enthusiast. May we know a brief background about you? Then, what are some of your famous works that can greatly be called a masterpiece? How about your contributions to the American literature? And lastly, can you share about some of your techniques or styles upon writing?
Good evening, everyone. My real name is Samuel Clemens. Mark Twain is just my pen name or pseudonym. I was born in Florida, Missouri, on November 30, 1835. I'm the sixth child of Jane Lambton and John Marshall Clemens. I'm a quintessential American humorist, lecturer, essayist, and author who wrote The Adventures of Tom Sawyer in 1876. Missouri was one of the 15 slave states when the American Civil War broke out. So I grew up among the racism, lynch mobs, hangings, and general inhumane oppression of African Americans. In other words, I grew up to despise the injustice of slavery and any form of senseless violence. My writing style is characterized by humor since I was a humorist, strong narrative and evocative descriptions, as well as a brilliant control of vernacular speech. My written works challenge the fundamental issues that face the America of my time. Those issues are racism, evolving landscapes, class barriers, access to education, and more. I celebrated my works such as The Adventures of Tom Sawyer in 1876 and my memoir, Life of the Mississippi, in 1883.
Thank you for that, Mr. Twain. So let me introduce to you our second author that we'll be talking with this evening. American writer and editor, was an influential critic and an important novelist of the late 19th century. William Dean Howell's career spanned a period of radical change in American literature. As novelist, critic, and editor, he contributed greatly to those changes, an advocate of honesty and social responsibility in literature. He led the struggle against escapist fantasy and for realistic, morally, politically committed fiction. So let's give a round of applause, please, with Mr. William Dean Howell. A pleasant evening to you, sir.
Hello everyone, I'm William Dean Howells. Was born on March 1, 1837 in Martinsville, Ohio. My father is William Cooper Howells, who is a newspaper editor and printer who moved frequently around Ohio, and my mother is Mary Dean Howells. I grew up in various Ohio towns and began work early as a typesetter and later as a reporter. Meanwhile, I also educated myself in languages and began contributing poems to the Atlantic Monthly. During that times, I fell in love in poetry. Now, I am an American realist, novelist, literary critic, and playwright, nicknamed as the Dean of American Letters. I was particularly known for my tenure as editor of the Atlantic Monthly, as well as for my own prolific writings, including The Christmas Story, Christmas Every Day, and the novels The Rise of Silas, La Femme and a Traveler from Algeria. I became editor-in-chief at the Atlantic Monthly when I was just 29 years old. One of my contributions is that I played an important role in the rise of realism in American literature and helped shape the attitudes of the reading public. I also helped writers like Henry James and Samuel Clemens gain popularity, and with my preference for realism, influenced the entire literary culture of the country. Lastly, my writing styles is favored naturalism, in which I related my characters' observations in a seemingly casual and endearing manner by embracing their imperfections. That's all, and good day, everyone.
Thank you so much, Mr. Howells. Now, who among you here are excited to know about the best chosen works of realism in American literature? Okay, I see that you really are that excited to know. So now, here it is.
A pleasant evening to everyone. Thank you so much for this award as the best and featured sample work, which is The Adventures of Tom Sawyer in Realism in American Period. So, this is a novel. The genre of this is concerned with our protagonist, Tom's personal growth and quest for identity. The Adventures of Tom Sawyer incorporates several different genres. A novel that follows the development of a hero from childhood through adolescence and into adulthood. The novel also resembles the picturesque genre in that Tom moves from one adventurous episode to another. The Adventures of Tom Sawyer also fits the genres of satire, frontier, literature, folk narrative, and comedy. I wrote this in 1874 to 1875 at Hartford, Connecticut. For the date of its first publication of this novel was in England in June 1876, and 6 months later in the United States. The narrator is an adult who views the adult world critically and looks back on the sentiments and pastimes of childhood in a somewhat idealized manner, with wit and also with nostalgia. It uses third-person point of view, with a special insight into the workings of the boyish heart and mind. So for the tone of the story, it is satirical and nostalgic. The story takes place in the fictional town of St. Petersburg, Missouri, which resembles my hometown of Hannibal. So, do you want to know the elements of this novel? Yeah? Without further ado, here we go!
Exposition. Tom Sawyer arrives in St. Petersburg, Missouri with his Aunt Polly, cousin Mary, and brother Sid. Tom is a mischievous 12-year-old with a vivid imagination. He routinely skips school and chores in favor of playing pirates, robbers, and other adventures with his friends.
Conflict. During one of Tom's midnight adventures with his friend Huck, the two witness Injun Joe murdered Dr. Robinson. When they discover that Muff Potter has been arrested for the murder, they are too afraid to reveal the truth.
Rising action. When Injun Joe disappears, Tom returns to his old ways. He and his friends run away to Jackson's Island and return days later to attend their own funeral. Later, they spy Injun Joe in disguise with a secret treasure. Huck stays in town to watch Joe, while Tom goes on an outing with Becky to McDougal's cave. He and Becky separate from the group and become lost in the cave.
Climax. In town, Huck overhears Injun Joe's plans to kill the widow Douglas and risks his neck to send help. Back in the cave, Tom is desperately looking for a way out of the cave when he spots Injun Joe in the cave.
Falling action. Safe from Injun Joe, widow Douglas takes in Huck and cares for him while he is sick. Tom and Becky escape from the cave, and Judge Thatcher seals it up, unwittingly trapping Injun Joe and causing his death by starvation.
Resolution. Tom and Huck uncover Injun Joe's treasure in the cave. Between their adventures, heroism, and never-found wealth, the two have become a celebrated pair in St. Petersburg.